Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Lost Mind podcast. It is me, Landon Caitler. I am joined by my usual co-host, Lucas Oldale, but we have another special guest, Cali White. How are you doing today, Cali? Thank you for being here.
I'm doing all right, just chilling.
Very good, very good. And Lucas, how are you today, Mr. Lucas
I'm
Oldale?
doing fine. It took me a little bit longer than I wanted it to figure out the setup for this, but other than that, I'm fine.
That's okay. So today, we are doing a bit of an interview for pre-NAIC. Obviously, that is coming up next weekend. Callie and Lucas are both going. I will not be there. So we just have a list of questions to ask Callie about the metagame, kind of how she's been preparing, kind of comparing that to how Lucas has been preparing himself. Obviously, I'm not preparing a whole lot, but I have been kind of keeping myself in the loop. So I don't know if Lucas wants to get us started here. Let's get right to
Well, I
it.
think we should have Callie introduce herself now.
Oh, this is true. I kind
Yeah.
of presumed that everyone knew Callie because we've been talking
Nah.
about Callie so much. Sorry.
Nah.
That is a good point.
So, Callie, can you just give us a rundown of like who you are, your accomplishments, why you think you are talented enough to speak on this, please, and be an influence on other people's deck choice, please?
Well, I guess I'm a Pokemon player from BC. Uh, I have some pretty good accomplishments this season. I have like multiple top cuts, so yeah, those are the vibes.
Do you think
The
at
vibes.
these events that you've top cutted, you've made like meta calls?
Yeah, well, I've definitely made like a mix of playing just like the best deck or just playing like a deck that I thought was very well positioned, so a bit of both.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, how do you decide when to meta call and when to just play a like the best deck in the format?
Well, there's like some metas where I think there's just like no defined deck that's like better than like a certain deck. Like I think for a long time in the Regidrago format, there was just like no innovations that people could come up with that could really beat Regidrago. So it was just best to play the Regidrago and play like more for the mirror, just being better in the mirror.
Did you
But
not
like,
did you not play Terrapagos at San Antonio? Like the
but
literal
yeah,
Drago
like after
tournament.
a while, the meta did like come around. I thought Terrapagos was really good for San Antonio because Goldingo fell off a lot, which was like really popular at the start of the format. That's like a horrible matchup for Terrapagos. And then like Terrapagos was really beating up on Regidrago, so that was like the main appeal of the deck. And then there's just Goldingo out. It's like kind of just beats everything.
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing for meta calling is there's going to be a couple decks that you just cannot beat, but I think in that situation Terrapagos is like number one deck it can't beat, kind of fell off. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's very hard to determine, especially going into like a format like NAIC. Going into NAIC, do you think it's just best to play the quote unquote best deck in the format, or is there still like, are you still trying to call the meta without tournaments in
Um,
the past?
well, definitely trying to call the meta. I don't think that much changes. It's just like Morning's Grimsnarl is introduced, which definitely changes a lot of things. But in terms of like new decks to practice against, there's not very much to practice with.
I mean, that's fair. How much do
And
you think Grimmsnarl actually affects the meta?
well, I think it affects it quite a bit because Grimsnarl is like inherently favored in the Gardevoir, and Gardevoir before it's had like no unfavorable matchups. So I think it was like just the best deck last format. But I think Gardevoir definitely has like more of a targets on its head. So
That's fair. I've been hearing from people playing Guardy that the Grimmsnarl matchup's like actually not that bad. So I'm surprised to hear you say it's like inherently unfavored for Guardy. Have you tested that?
I have tested it. I think it's unfavorable for Gardevoir. I think they can still win, but I think if the Grimsnarl player plays like really well, it's still like it's probably like a 40-60 matchup, which Gardevoir like literally has none of those. So before, so
That's fair.
I want to go back to the medical thing really quick. I think it's really hard to like make a educated like best deck for the first tournament of a format because like we have like limitless tournaments to go off of, and then Japanese results, which we know from the past isn't always super representative of like TPCI events. So I think it's like kind of in reference to the medical versus best deck question. Do we even know the best deck right now?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. We have like a general like guess of what's going to be the best deck, but yeah, I don't know. I think that's just kind of the struggle of going into a new format because we don't actually have any information except for Play Limitless tournaments, and Great Tusk Mill has come top four in Play Limitless tournaments. So I
That's
don't
the
think
best deck.
that's
Callie, are you playing Great Tusk Mill for NAIC?
Maybe.
That's the best play. I think you should. I want to kind of touch on Grimstyle as well. Um, I played a bit of Grimstyle, and like at first when you look at the card, like 180 30 snipe looks pretty sad when you compare it to like something like Dragapult's attack. But I think just like the context of where it is in the metagame with the dark weakness, like really good spread options, and then it has things like Badu to slow the game down, and then obviously Monkey Dory's Tracked. In terms of like the three big stage 2 decks, like where do you think Grimmsnarl fits in as opposed to just kind of like the Guard EV Pult meta we've had in the past?
I personally prefer Grimmsnarl over Dragapult. I think Dragapult is kind of overplayed. It was definitely overplayed at the end of last format because I
Yeah,
think Gardevoir was so good. But
I agree too.
yeah, I think that it like fits in pretty well. I think it's like a really good deck.
Do you see it as like a kind of a rock paper scissors between the three of them, or do you think that like one of them is strictly better than the other two, or
I think like Grimmsnarl technically has the best matchup into all three.
yeah?
Like I think has like a slightly favorable Gardevoir matchup, and I think like the Pult matchup's like pretty close to even, but I think it's like slightly favored for Grimmsnarl.
Is
Okay.
that all Pult variants?
Um, I played Pult Zard and Pult Noir into it. I haven't played Straight Pult, but I'm pretty sure Straight Pult is worse than Pult
Oh
Noir
yeah, no.
too.
Straight
So
Pult is like that has to be unwinnable. That's so bad. They just put like triple monkey down, and you can't make progress
yeah,
in that matchup. How do you think like Grimmsnarl does into the other decks, such as like Dango, Eevees, Raging Bolt stuff? Is it like actually just better than playing Pult? Because I think you've already said that it is, but how does it do into these other decks?
I think it has like a pretty poor Joltik box matchup, which I think will still be a pretty big deck. Has a pretty poor Raging Bolt matchup too. I think it's like that one's a lot closer than the Joltik box matchup, but I think it's still like a little bit bad. Eevees I'm like not sure on. I think it's like pretty close because like setting up multiple Leafeons can be really annoying, and they always get to gust their first Leafeon from what I played. And then what was the other one? What was the other deck?
It was
Gold
Goldango,
Dingo.
yeah.
That one I'm not very tested on, so I
Oh
just don't
yeah,
really know.
that's fair. I think Goldango's like incredibly sleeper. I don't think many people are testing into it right now. It was like it's kind of doing insane online, but I don't know how much it'll translate. I don't know. Maybe it's just Weeb being insane. I don't
Me love Labui.
know. I don't know.
I've definitely heard stuff about Gold Dingo. I do think it's pretty good. So.
Yeah, Dango does seem really strong. I just didn't like start playing it quick enough, so I'm not gonna switch on to
Real.
it.
Um, I guess Dengo's not really like a turbo deck, but like of like the kind of beat stick take two prizes thing, like Raging Bolts, Joltek boxes. I don't Dengo kind of fits into that, but not so much anymore. What do you think is like the best like aggressive slash turbo deck for the tournament?
I don't know. I actually really like Joltik Fox. I think your Grimmsnarl matchup's like really good. But
Yeah.
Joltek box, let's go.
I was gonna say, I would presume you would say Joltik because you said it was beating Grim.
yeah, I think it's very favorite to Grimmsnarl
Yeah.
if you
I
play it properly.
okay. I thought it would be totally the opposite because they would just go like Grim but I guess they could just leaves it, so that doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
and doesn't the Galvantula like the baby Galvantula one shot too?
Oh, I
Yeah.
keep forgetting that card exists. That card's
I also
really
forget
good.
that card exists. I always just like think that card looks terrible, but supposedly everyone plays it. I don't know.
No, that card
Callie,
is
are you
insane.
a baby Galvantula supporter?
You definitely should play that card in the deck. It's like your only one prize attacking option. And if they ignore the
Yeah, that's
Joltik, then
fair.
they get punished for it.
Yeah, fair.
Do you
Okay.
think the discussion of like best stage 2 deck, best turbo deck is heavily influenced by Grimmsnarl's meta share? Like without Grimmsnarl, is like Bolt better than Joltik?
I mean, probably. I think Bolt is like a little bit better in the Gardevoir, but I would rather just take the better Grimmsnarl matchup right now.
That's true.
Fair. I have a question in terms of like Raging Bolt. Do you think Shaman is like enough to make that deck meaningfully worse into like the setting up decks?
Yeah, that's like one of the other reasons I think so. Because like Raging Bolt like used to be really good in the Pult or Pult, yeah. But now if they like bench Shaman, it feels pretty bad. Like if you commit to
Yeah.
a Baby Bolt early too, you just have like 3 energy on this thing that's like kind of doing nothing, just killing a Badoo. So
So are we playing like Baby Bolt and just assuming that like hopefully they don't play Shaman, or are we just assuming that all stage 2 decks play Shaman and it's useless to Baby Bolt?
I mean, I think you just still play it and hope they don't play Shaman. Well, you can also
Fair.
like prize Shaman, they can't find Shaman. I don't know.
True. Punish them. Okay.
And I think a lot of the
Um,
top players are still playing Baby Bolt. Like I was on ladder yesterday. My group was on ladder, and there were some of the top Raging Bolt players like Christian Lavella, and he was still playing Baby Bolt in his list. So I don't. I know a lot of the stage 2 decks are still not playing Shaman because like
Yeah.
Dragapult and Gardevoir are still fine into Bolt.
And if you
don't
think like
need it.
one of the best like spreading decks in terms of like damage spread, not like Dragapult, it was Zoroark, and Zoroark has like largely fallen off in this format. Um, that's actually a decent question. Do you think there's any legitimacy to end Zoroark in this format?
I actually don't hate the idea of Enzork. I feel like you can still beat Morty's Grimmsnarl even without like the threat of Darmanitan. But
Yeah, I feel like Powerful Rage would have a lot of weight pulled into them, and like if you have a couple good well-timed Turos and you have Monkey Dory as well, I think there's like a decent case for Zoroark.
Couldn't
I also
Grim
think your
just...
Gardevoir is still really good. Sorry.
Yes, yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Couldn't Grim just outplay them though? Like they don't have to just swing for 180. They can just wait for the Frost Lashes to accumulate. But I guess they just apply pressure with Darm.
Well,
Yeah.
you can also like use Monkey Dory. Like I feel like there's a lot. And you have Turos if they're like they get really close to a Devo, which I feel like would take forever. So I don't know.
I think the problem with like giving Zoroark time is like they just trade 3 times every time you do nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Another like little quick question: do you think like there's any legitimacy to like Ho-Oh Arbor Rouge things?
Because that's been on Twitter quite a lot, and I've had some people go like, "I'm gonna try this deck," and is that deck at all real? Because it seems super cool.
That deck just seems kind of clunky. I'm not gonna lie. And I don't even think like your power spikes are like that good. And you have to like maintain doing them, which feels really bad because your attackers aren't that hard to kill.
I saw a list online that played double Mew EX and a Squovit, and I was like, okay, there's a draw engine.
That sounds kind of bad.
That still feels so clunky.
It does. It does feel pretty bad. But I
That's-
thought it was funny because like that was the thing I was thinking about that deck. Like this needs a draw engine, and then that's their solution, I guess.
A single Dragapult and your entire draw engine's gone. Like
We don't talk about that.
Phantom Dive, kill Squovit, kill Mew. You just shudder. It's
Okay.
so bad.
best turbo deck we think is Joltik. Do you think there's like a meaningful change, I guess, other than just like getting a new good matchup in Grimmsnarl? You think it's like pretty close to the same position it was last meta, or for Joltik box?
Well, I mean, I think Raging Bolt is definitely like slightly worse too, and that's like your worst matchup. So you definitely don't hate that.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right. Do you think a lot of these turbo decks actually take good matchups other than like Joltik and Grim? Like, because from what I've been hearing, Joltik is just not beating Guardy or Pult. Do you think Turbo is like well positioned at all for this tournament?
I think that Joltik has a fine pull matchup. I don't know. I feel like Joltik players just kind of play it poorly. I do think the Gardevoir matchup is pretty bad though.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we on Gravity Mountain in Joltik now? Is that a thing? Or are we still just playing Clefairy and going for the...
Surely it's double gravity.
I like the idea of Gravity Mountain. That sounds pretty good.
Let's
Like they
go.
can play around Clefairy really easily too. So
Yeah, I just saw like a couple lists. I think in our last episode that came out, we were talking about like a Joltik list that didn't play any Clefairy and just Gravity Mountain and like no way to find it. And I was like kind of sussed out by that, but maybe it's fine. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Our next question.
You have to
maybe?
play
Or
like
unless you
double
have something.
gravity mountain. You have to play double gravity mountain in that deck, or else you're just never finding it, and it's cope.
And then I guess you're playing like Secret Box, but you're not playing Secret Box. You're playing Prime.
No, you're
Catcher.
playing Prime.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Next question. We talked about EVs a little bit earlier. It's getting a bit of hype. I think the Leafeon is really cool tech. Do you think that EV is like a top 5 deck, or do you think it's like kind of not so good?
I've been testing a lot of EV. I like Noctowl, so I think that's pretty good. I think your Grimmsnarl matchup's like a lot, not as close as people thought or like people think, but I think aside from that, you're still taking the same matchups as you were before. So
Yeah.
What do you mean by it's not as close as people think? Like it's better?
well, I think it's like not amazing to be honest. Like I think Grimmsnarl has a lot of place in team, but I don't know.
Or where people I think are just assuming that Leafeon just autos them, which is probably not.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
case.
yeah. They still have Iono and like Noctowl decks are just like so.
Yeah. Speaking of like Iono, how scared are you of Watchtower as like a potential Noctowl enjoyer at this tournament?
I would probably just like not worry about it. I don't know. I think the only deck that's like realistically should be playing it is Golden Go, but I do think people will like add it in random decks, but I just think you like win a couple rounds, like you avoid those people.
Do you think
Yeah.
Pulsar's playing it?
What deck?
Pulsar.
I don't like it in Pulsar, but
That's fair. What stadium's in Pulsar for you right now?
I can see playing like Jamming Tower to start off Devo, good late game Ionos. It's also like good in the Cardi, or you could just play like Artisan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
feel like
do
one of
idea
the
of
underrated
Pulsar.
modes of Watchtower is like turning off Blood Moon late game. I think that's pretty relevant. I feel like I think Watchtower is like a little underrepresented. Do you disagree with that statement? You just want to dodge them?
I don't think it's very good. I don't know like what decks care about shutting off Ursaluna late game. I feel like the stage 2 decks don't really care about Ursaluna.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I
And all the
think
turbo
like it might
decks,
be a
like,
one of in some secret box decks. That's kind of where I'm at. Like if you have any amount of way to find the watchtower, it's maybe worth considering as like a late game target. But
is that
I
secret
think
box
there's
not
not
just
that
going to
much.
be gone in the early game most of the time? Like most of the
I
times
mean,
in the mid game that you play it. So I guess you could still go like Iona to 3+ tower.
yeah, I don't know. I think like probably you're right with like Dango being the one deck that might be considering it. But
I've been seeing that those
yeah,
lists are playing Jammy Tower instead. I think that card's kind of incredibly good in that deck. From what
Jamming
I've been
Tower is
seeing.
gas. Jamming Tower is gas. Cool. How about like the Leafeon EX? Does that have like utility outside of the Grimmsnarl matchup, or are we just like, ooh, grass Pokemon that heals my board against the grass weak deck?
I mean, the 60x attack is like sometimes good into Gardevoir if they have like a lot of energy in play. It's pretty good into a Joltik. If they just like go 4 on hands for some reason, they can just like go boss kill it turn 2, like reset
Yeah,
it.
That does seem
yeah, because the
incredibly
first
good.
attack, yeah,
And the heal attack is also like pretty relevant in the Gardevoir sometimes, just like heal off monkey things to set up like or like deny checkmate board states.
yeah. Okay.
So, as Guardy, are we now not? Is Drifloon? Because I guess Drifloon would be a lot scarier to use if they can just go like here and Leafeon.
I think Drifloon is always like kind of bad to attack with in the matchup. I think Clefairy is the best attacker anyways, so
Yeah, because then if you just attack with Drifloon, they go Anglite. Yeah,
yeah, and then they shuffle all the energy back in, which like a lot of reset.
Angelite's broken. I love that attack.
I don't know. That card allows for such a outplay capability. It's so cool.
Are we playing one copy of Sylveon EX, or are we still playing two?
I don't hate the idea of playing one, but I like probably prefer to have two in my list. I think it's
Yeah,
like really important and like if you have prize it against pull, it's like really really bad. So
yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Like it's just basically, it becomes a lot harder to win if you don't have Sylveon. Because then if they can just go Phantom Dive to Clefairy plus Iono, and you can't really recover.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty hard to recover from that.
I think with like with Eevees, I know like Terravox isn't really like a deck that's discussed. Do you think there is like any place for other Noctowl decks aside from Eevees, or
Bolt.
Yeah,
yeah,
just pull. That's
just
like the
Bolt?
only real one. Like I maybe like if the meta progresses more, I could see like Hairbox being good if you like cut Shaman, but that's probably
Yeah.
it.
Okay, cool. That's mine. Unless Lucas, you have more questions about EVs, I'm pretty satisfied with that.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. For EVs, the Terror Box thing and the Shaman counts in decks in general. Like, how many Stage 2 decks do you think are actually going to include Shaman? Because I've been seeing that not many are.
I feel like most of them will. I feel like Gardevoir should be playing Shaman for Mirror. I feel like Grimmsnarl should be playing Mirror or Shaman for Bolt, because otherwise they just like instantly snipe for Frostlass, and then like the Bolt matchup actually just feels like absolutely horrendous if they do that. So I don't know about Bolt. That's like the one I'm the most sus on, but I'd probably like I'm not playing Bolt probably, but if I was playing Bolt, I'd probably just play it just to be safe. But
Fair. Um, I know Lucas was like really interested in like the Dango question. Do you think like Dango is underplayed, underrepresented?
I could definitely see that. I think it has like a very good Gardevoir matchup, which is good. I don't know about your Grimmsnarl matchup. Seems a little bit sus if they set up like double Frostlass and go for like some Devo stuff.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
could definitely see that matchup being pretty close with like some Picnic Basket. That card seems pretty good. And
Yeah,
I think your pull matchup was always good. So
I've been seeing some Dango lists play Jamming Tower, and I feel if the Grimmsnarl matchup's still bad, you can just play Picnic Basket. That would probably swing the matchup, no?
yeah, I think Picnic Basket's pretty good. I think that you should just include that because I think your deck has like the easiest way of finding it. Like
Yeah.
any of the decks could play Picnic Basket.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Cypher. So you can hit it whenever you
Yeah,
need to.
you just Cypher or for it.
Yeah, so it's not like Joltik where it's so coped to play that card.
Yeah, I mean I think Joltik is already so favored into Grimmsnarl. I'm not sure to add attack.
For sure. I think it's more for Polt, but yeah.
I don't know how good it is in pull. I'm not like that. So
Yeah.
With like the Grimmsnarl matchup, how this is kind of like a double question. From my experience playing like Frostless Monkey Dory, because you can kind of play that mode a little bit as Grimmsnarl. It was like Dango had very small amount of chance into that. Maybe that was just like me playing it at League or Ladder and they weren't playing appropriately. But I feel like the Badu Monkey Dory Frostless plan is like really powerful against Dango because they have like no way to get it back energy without items. Do you think that's like a scary line?
I can see it being really scary after like you attack and kill a Grimmsnarl, like the Badu threat.
Yeah. What I was always finding is like you would let them take a big knockout, discard a bunch of energies, then you'd CC another Dango, and then they play like 3 metal energies. So you can just go CC a Dango, item lock, CC a Dango, item lock, and then all their metal energies in play, and they're cooked. Um,
Well, the issue is they're still taking like a prize every turn with Monkey Dory, which I'm assuming they probably established. So
yeah, that's fair. Okay.
It's different between Dusk decks and Grimmsnarl when you're trying to do that, because Dusk decks can actually like kill the monkey, and
Yeah.
if you're not killing monkey, especially if they leave a Frostlass in play, because I guess Dango isn't ever killing your Frostlass, so if you ever put one down, they're just gonna be able to monkey you infinitely and kill the Badu.
Reasonable and fair. Do we think there's any like Dango variants that aren't playing Dragapult that are reasonable, or are we just playing the 2/2/1 pull?
I mean, I don't hate the idea of like I don't know how good Pult is, or like you can technically cut Pult, but I would definitely be playing the Cloak. So yeah.
Yeah.
I've been seeing All Out Blitzel and some other people be playing this like Pidgeot Goldango. What do you think about that?
Um, I don't really know. I feel like you're already kind of weak into Badoo. I'm trying to like also be trying to set up a Pidgeot under Badoo.
Yeah,
Sounds kind of annoying.
yeah,
I feel like I just like the Cloak. It's like it's a decent onboard draw that's like lower maintenance.
that's fair. That's reasonable. What do you think of the
Oh,
upsides of the Pidgeot and Dango?
I mean, you can get anything, so that's the upside, right? It's just like you have a stronger draw engine, but you're a little bit less consistent.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I think Dango's supposed to be drawing everything. If you have double cloak down, like you're supposed to just be hitting the cards. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
as to why we want Pidgeot in the deck.
that's an all-out Blitzel special. Like I love Pidgeot.
Pidgeot controlled Goldango or Pidgeot controlled Raging Bolt, whatever he made, and it was just like one copy of Judge and a Pidgeot.
Bros wildin'.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of Dragapult EX, what do you think the best Pult version is? Do you think there is a reason to play non-Dusknoir Pult variants right now?
I tested some Pulsar. I think it has like a really poor Grimmsnarl mashup, and I think you're still unfavored in the other Pult variants, so I would probably avoid that. And then I think straight Pult is pretty bad because you just like lose to Grimmsnarl, so I like
It's-
Dusk Pult the most.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah.
think Dusk Pult's matchup into Grim is?
I think that one's like pretty even. Like I think it's like probably slightly favored for Grimmsnarl because like I just feel like Dusk Pult has to do more to do the same amount that Grimmsnarl is doing basically.
Is there a
I
reason to
could agree
play
with that.
Dusk Pult instead of Grimmsnarl for the event?
Well, there's probably like a reason because I bet like some other matchups are different. Like I think you have a better Joltik box, and like I'm sure there's other matchups that are like different.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Um, the Dango matchup's not bad for Pult either, because if they're
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
think
playing,
that match is pretty close.
yeah, the matchup's pretty close. So it's kind of interchangeable in a sense. And
Do Go ahead, Lucas. Sorry.
I was gonna move on. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I just wanted to see like I kind of want to go back to like the triangle of like Pult, Guardy, and Grimmsnarl because I think those are probably like the three most like hyped slash powerful decks. Do you think like there's just gonna be the top tables are these three decks kind of fighting it out against each other with like a couple random things popped in? Because I feel like most top players are gonna be playing one of these three archetypes. How much of the meta do you think is gonna be like just these three decks?
I think it just depends on what top players play. To be honest, like I think the meta will probably be pretty wide. I think there'll be like lots of Raging Bolts and Joltiks, but I think like these will probably be like the three most popular decks. Maybe with like a Raging Bolt in that like it could be in with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say Raging Bolt or Joltik both have the capability of cracking top three. I think Bolt more than Joltik, but I think a lot of the turbo players will probably try both and would realize Joltik's better in the Grim. I think there's a chance of that, but I still think Bolt is the most played. Like
I think
outside
people
of
just like Bolt.
turbo. Yeah.
They do. Ever since Raging Bulls come out, everyone just loves that little guy. It's sick. It's so fun to play. But Lucas wanted to move on. What do you want to move on to there, Mr. Oldale?
Well, I think this just kind of segues pretty perfectly into like the rough meta shares of the top decks, and yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say more, and then I lost my train of thought.
Well, basically, what you think like the top five will be meta kind of
Like,
deal.
yeah, like how much of the meta does the top five decks account for?
Well, I think like Pult will probably be like 15%. I just think people aren't willing to get rid of it, even though I don't think it's that good. But and then like I think Grimmsnarl will probably be like 12% because like the big new deck. So some people will play it. I think a lot of top players will play it. It seems pretty good. And I think Raging Bolt will probably be like 10 to 12. Gardevoir will be like 8 to 10, and then Joltik will probably be like 6 to 8. Those are like my bet on the top five.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So you think that like over 50% of the decks are these top 5 decks?
Um, if the math does that, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, do you think that there's like a deck that the top player like? I feel like in the previous format, most players were playing like Gardevoir. Like that's the skillful, intensive deck that people are playing like at top tables. Top players are playing that. Do you think that's still Gardevoir in this format, or is Grimmsnarl enough to suss out like the Gardevoir players? Because I know like some of them are saying like the matchup is fine. Like Lucas is saying, I don't know.
There will definitely be a lot of good players on God of War, I think. But I do think some of them will move to Grimmsnarl. And I still think there's a bunch of them that are playing Pult that will continue to play Pult. So
Yeah, I don't really get it. But you're right though. It's kind of like a thing. People just have stuck to Pult and they keep playing it. Even though last format, I feel like there was zero justification to play it over Guardy, but people just kept doing it.
Real.
I don't know.
I
I
think
didn't
the
get it.
justification is that you don't have the amount of time to learn Guardy as you've had to learn Pult. So a lot of these players last format who were playing Pult just didn't switch because they weren't good enough at Guardy, and they've heard about how hard the deck really is.
That's reasonable.
I think that's a reason as to why like Enzork was pretty small last format, and a lot of these like high skill intensive decks that are new are typically lower in the meta, is because these people don't feel comfortable enough to play it reasonably enough, because the decks are extremely hard to play. So you need multiple weeks, maybe months, to learn how to play the deck.
I have a speaking of hard thing. How difficult do we think the Grimstar Mailer is? Because I keep seeing the funny Henry Brand meme where it's just like pass, pass, and I think it's hilarious. But I haven't tried the matchup at all. What is your experience in the Grimstar Mirror?
I don't think it's like that difficult. I think that like there's a lot of ways to mess up really badly. But I feel like once you played a couple of games of it, if you have like you should probably just not doing that stuff, like you'll realize how you're messing up.
Okay.
Would you be able to just? I've never played Grimmsnarl. I have no idea what he means by just pass pass. I've heard that you don't want to put damage counters on the board. Like why do you not want to just swing?
Sometimes you don't want to put damage counters in play because they're like monkeying you back so much. You have less monkeys established. That's like probably my bet. And also like if you have like, I could see you like having like 180 on your active and then you not be able to like evolve your bench and then them like just killing both your active and your bench.
So what do you
I haven't
think?
like played that much against Strawberry either though. So
That's fair.
I feel like it's just like whoever can develop the most Monkey Dories is gonna win because that card's
Yeah.
broken.
What do you think
you
the
don't put
best?
stuff Frostless.
What do you think the best first attack is in that matchup? Like, what are we targeting? What are we trying to kill? Are we trying to kill like 2 monkey? Are we trying to kill both Frostlass?
Oh, you never put Frostless in play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that
But-
I kind of understood. I think.
Yeah, you just kill the monkeys. You just try and kill their monkeys faster than they kill your monkeys.
Okay. So we're okay. That makes sense. So no Frostlass in play, and you just target monkeys so that they don't get a bunch of damage to work with.
You
They
don't want
can't develop
Frostless
more than-
because
Go ahead. Sorry.
you don't want Frostless because then you have less monkeys in play. So
Yeah, I've always like appreciated the decks that can only establish one monkey during a turn. Like Guardy, if you boss a monkey, they can't make them a monkey the next turn. I feel like that also applies for Grimmsnarl, because they're not like playing any like E switches to my knowledge.
they sometimes are. It's like
Yeah.
50-50.
Sometimes they're playing.
I feel like that makes sense if you can like just get 5 energies for free to play an E switch. That does make sense to me, but okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say something, and then I forgot. So just continue.
Brutal.
What you were gonna say?
I don't know. Do you think any like Grimmsnarl's ever playing the little more Pico guy?
No.
Little Marnie's more
Uh,
Pico?
It's like a waste of energy investment and like bench
What?
space.
What? Okay, fair.
You don't want to
I just wanted
evolve
to
a
mention.
Grimmsnarl to not one-shot something and then lose all your energy and have to put another Grimmsnarl down, and then
That's
you
what
don't
I'm
have any
saying.
energy on the Monkey Dory.
Yeah.
That makes we're crazy. I think we're just misplaying at that point. Like that. Wow, can't believe it.
I was a little bit trolling with that question, if I'm
No,
being
I know.
real.
I know.
I have one more, like, in terms of Dark Stage 2 that accelerates energies, do you think there's more room for Charizard at all, or is, like, the collateral of also having Grass Weakness, like, a huge problem? Because you kind of mentioned Pult Zard earlier, and I know that you were a super huge fan of that, but that, like, Zard seems to be getting more hype than it has in a while.
Well, the only appeal of Hazard is like really your Gardevoir matchup. I think your Dragon Ball matchup is still horrible, and then I also think that your Grimmsnarl matchup seems pretty bad. They have a lot of spread,
Yeah.
and Charizard just doesn't really like spread. They have Debo too. Charizard hates Debo, so
Yeah. So you don't think there's like any room for like, even if it like was Pult Zard, you think that has worse matchups than regular Pultnor, and then like straight Zard has zero reason to exist?
yeah, I don't like Pulsar unless Guardia is going to be like a huge percentage of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at that point, like, why aren't we just switching over to Grimmsnarl and not playing like a double stage 2 clunk pile kind of deal?
Real.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a
Okay.
clunk pile. Could just go Evo with a double cloak. Okay, so if if we have a rough estimate of the top decks, Control has always thrived in those kind of metas. What do you think about Control in this format? I've been looking at it and it looks kind of okay.
I think that like right now, Control just doesn't have like a good engine. I don't know. They're like wasting all their bench space on Spidos from what I've seen, which just feels really bad.
You haven't you haven't seen the Hitmonlee Tinglu thing?
I don't know everything about Control. I just like think that the deck I see doesn't look very consistent.
No, you're
So
fine. It's not. That's the whole problem about it. I tried Control, and I played a couple games, and I was still losing to Pult, and I just put it away because I was not gonna commit enough time into the deck to justify playing it.
Brutal.
It's so
Um,
sad.
Lucas, do you have any more on terms of the meta, or can we move on to our final scripted question?
I guess we can. Yeah, we can move on to the final scripted question.
Khalid, is there any S tier decks that you believe are in this meta, or is it kind of like we're kind of talking about the top 3-ish?
as of right now, I would say no, but I could definitely see there being one. I want to see like the results from NAIC first.
Yeah. This is the only tournament in this format, right? Because the next one's Worlds, then we have the black and white set for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
guess we're gonna be in this situation again.
Yes, which I think is always cool about NAC Worlds. Like, it's just like I like these like tournaments where it's the first format, and it's like a big one, like the IC being a first of a new meta. I think it really like rewards really good deck building and preparation from players. Maybe that's actually another like good question too. Do you prepare like differently for these like larger tournaments where it's like the one-off meta, or are you just kind of preparing the same, just testing more?
I try to prepare more for ICs, but I don't know if I like always do it. But
Yeah,
yeah, generally I would try to put more effort into an IC than our regionals.
yeah.
I think
And do
it
you have
was
like
more specific to the new format aspect, not like the IC or the world part of the question.
yeah, kind of.
No, I just want to perform better at IC, so I'm gonna put more effort in, even if it's like the same format.
Okay.
Like at LAIC, actually I didn't really test for LAIC, but for UIC I did test a lot, even though my deck sucked. So
What was your deck for UIC?
Lhasa.
Oh,
Yeah, Lost Bucks. Flower
that
Select.
deck was kind of, it was kind of cool. I was kind of thinking about it because that deck was cool, but I didn't have time before the tournament to play it.
Cool.
You didn't make
Um,
you didn't make day 2 with that, right?
That's the only day 2 I've went this season is with Lhasa.
Oh.
R.I.P.
That's
Okay, so no
fun.
S tier decks. If there was to be an S tier deck, do you think it would be one of the top 3 stage 2 decks?
I think it would probably be Grimmsnarl or God of War.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I'm very curious to see like if there's adaptations made to Guardy for the Grimstorm matchup, because I just don't really think there are any that you can really make other than like maybe playing a Devo or something. Um, but fair enough. Okay.
Do you think
Um,
Rockets is real? Because
Oh, true. That's a good question.
is Rocket real? I don't think it is.
I think no, I think it's like kind of. I think you lose to Raging Bull, and I think you're really. It's like your main attacker just sucks. Like the Mewtwo sucks. If you're trying to attack with Mewtwo in the matchup, it's just bad.
That's
Yeah.
so real.
I think it just gets Ionoed so hard as well because you can't
Yeah.
like you're not supposed to play Fez in your deck because then all your supporters suck. Like draw till you 5 in hand is unplayable.
It's just a
If they release like a decent draw Pokemon for Rocket, maybe the deck is reasonable. I just don't think that it has enough. Like
I don't think
it's-
they're gonna do that.
No, I don't think they will either. But if they did like some sort of like Bibarel or whatever, then I think that deck could be reasonable. But it's so weak to Iono.
What do you think about Garchomp? Because I think me and Landon were
Oh,
thinking
I was kind of
Garchomp
sipping for
has
that deck.
potential. I've seen some people play it. I don't know what your thoughts and opinions are on that.
I think it's like really weakened to Iono because you have the draw on your ability, but or not the ability to attack, but like it's not draw during a turn. And then I also just think like your attacks kind of suck. Like doing 100 is really bad. Like
Yeah,
260 is not
you
that
need
good either, even
Roserade
if you
for it
get like
to
the
be
Roserade.
You need Rose Raid to be an actual attack. It's not great.
I think the deck is a lot more reasonable once the power, like the fighting Electro power comes out, or power tablet, whatever you want to call it. But that's obviously not relevant yet. So, okay. Unless you have any other questions, Lucas, I think that's the end of what we had there.
I don't really have too much more. Cali, was there anything that you wanted to kind of address in this meta that we didn't touch on?
No, not really.
That's fair.
Word.
I think we gave a pretty general overview of everything. I mean,
Yeah, I think that was.
I think that's
Yeah,
good.
I don't think we missed much.
I don't think we whatever. Just continue.
Do you have any shout outs to make, Callie?
Well, shout out Project Artemis, my sponsor, and
Yo, let's go.
yeah, shout out BC Locals. It's fun.
Hell yeah. BC's the GOAT. We got this is an all BC podcast today. I love it. This is great.
It's so sick.
Shout out Canada. Goated. I
Canada's
love to see our fellow Canadian players farming these darn Americans at their tournaments. Love it.
It's so fun.
I love seeing the flag right next to the result.
Yeah,
it's good.
such a small population compared to them, but the density of good players is insane.
Yeah, I actually want to do a math on that, like average, like what percentage of like conversion Canadian players have in like events, because for the amount that we show up, we are very highly represented in like the tops of day twos and stuff, which I think is super cool.
We can do that now because we have labs.
Yeah, I'll do that at some point. Maybe I'll post it on Twitter or something. Maybe I'll farm some.
No, that'll bang. That'll get like that'll bang.
Word. Okay. Shout out Project Artemis. Any other shout outs?
BC Locals.
No, that's good.
Yeah, BC Locals. Cool. I'll shout out our Twitter at Last Mind Podcast. I'll shout out my own at KitlerTCG. Do you have a Twitter, Callie, that you want to shout or anything like that?
Oh, my Twitter is Cali White TCG.
Word. And
No
Lucas
way.
is at Lucas Oldale. So.
Yeah, I don't have TCG in my name. I'm not cool.
No. Cool. Okay. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Callie. We appreciate your time. Best of luck in NAIC to yourself and to Lucas. I'll be cheering you on from the beaches of Mexico. I leave on Thursday, so I will be hyped, hanging out, having some cervezas on the beach. But I will be watching the stream, cheering you guys on.
Don't
It'll be
get
great.
sick again.
True that. I will not swim in poop water again. That was terrible.
Yeah.
I swam in the ocean that they like dumped sewage into without telling the public, and then I got super sick. It was gross.
Yeah.
Just the Mexico difference. It was. Anyways, that's all from us. Thanks so much for being here. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.